She controlled what he wore, who he talked to, what he ate, and when he finally tried to leave, she made sure he'd never leave anyone again. This is the story of how love became a cage, and that cage became a coffin. Highland Heights, Kentucky, October 12, 2012. 29-year-old Ryan Carter Poston was the kind of man people gravitated toward, a Cincinnati attorney with a sharp legal mind and an even sharper wit. Triple majored in history, geography, and political science at Indiana University. Handsome, brilliant. The guy who'd make you laugh until your sides hurt. His friends described him as exceptionally compassionate, the kind of person you wanted in your life. Ryan loved chess. He came from a family of attorneys. He had 3 younger sisters who adored him. His father would later say, "When people would ask me about my child, I wouldn't say he was beautiful, even though he was, or brilliant, even though he was. I would say my son has a kind heart." But in the weeks before his death, something changed. Ryan looked tired, withdrawn. He confided to his cousin about feeling overwhelmed, trapped. His last messages to friends painted a chilling picture. "This is getting to be restraining order level crazy." And then there was Shayna Hubers, 21 years old, beautiful, pursuing a master's degree in school counseling at the University of Kentucky, an IQ testing at near-genius levels. To outsiders, they looked perfect together, but Ryan's friends saw something different. Something they couldn't quite name, not yet. They met on Facebook in 2011. Ryan was scrolling through mutual friends when he stumbled across Shayna's spring break photos. Bikini shots, striking, he liked several of them, making his interest immediately known. Messages turned into dates, dates turned into a relationship. But almost from the beginning, things weren't right. Shayna was possessive, intensely jealous. She'd send upwards of 100 text messages a day, sometimes more. Friends noticed Ryan stopped responding to group chats, stopped showing up to hangouts. His coworker Lauren Worley, who Ryan had dated briefly before Shayna, noticed the change. She'd show up at his condo unannounced, 3 times in one day sometimes. He couldn't get rid of her. Ryan's friend Ken saw the red flags early. "I knew she was a stalker. I thought she was perfectly capable of causing a scene, but murder?" The relationship became a cycle, on again, off again. Ryan would break things off. Shayna would flood his phone with messages, hundreds of them. He'd cave, she'd be back. By the spring of 2012, Ryan was trying to create distance. He was dating other people, trying to move on. But Shayna had a key to his condo, and she wasn't letting go. In one text exchange from August, Ryan wrote, "I'm turning off the phone and padlocking the door." Over the next 9 hours, Shayna sent him at least 100 messages. Ryan finally replied, "I'm not reading any of these, so stop." She didn't stop. Friends said Ryan was terrified of how she'd react if he truly ended things. "She refuses to leave each time," he told his cousin, restraining order level crazy. But there was something else Ryan didn't know, something that would seal his fate. Shayna had been hacking into his Facebook account, reading his messages, unfriending people she didn't approve of, monitoring every move. By October 2012, Ryan was done. He'd met someone new online, Audrey Bolt. The reigning Miss Ohio 2012. They'd been texting for months, building a connection. Ryan asked her out for drinks. She said yes. The date was set for Friday, October 12th, at 9 p.m., then pushed to 10 p.m. That 1-hour delay would cost Ryan his life. Because on the night Ryan was supposed to meet Audrey, Shayna showed up at his condo. She still had that key and she knew about the date. What happened in those final moments would be revealed by Shayna herself, in her own words. With cameras rolling, and what she said would shock everyone. October 12, 2012, just before 9 p.m. Ryan was getting ready for his date with Audrey. He was nervous, excited, finally moving forward. But Shayna was already inside his Highland Heights condo. The prosecution would later argue she'd been planning this, waiting, knowing that if Ryan left tonight, he'd never come back to her. What exactly triggered the violence? We may never know the full truth. Shayna would claim Ryan became aggressive, that he threw her around, scratched her arms, but the crime scene told a different story. Ryan's .380 caliber Sig Sauer handgun, his own gun, was on the dining room table. The first shot hit Ryan in the head, then another and another, 6 shots total, to his head, his neck, his chest, his side. Ryan Poston died on the floor of his own living room, just 20 feet from where he'd been sitting. His body crumpled, blood pooling around him. And then Shayna Hubers picked up the phone and called 911. "I killed my boyfriend in self-defense. He's dead. He's completely dead." The operator asked what happened. "He was beating me up and I grabbed his gun and I shot him. I was defending myself. He's completely dead." Her voice wavered, she sounded emotional, panicked. But as the call continued, something strange happened. Shayna started talking a lot. "He's very vain. One of our last conversations we had that was good was that he wanted to get a nose job and I shot him right here. I gave him his nose job he wanted, I broke it." The operator went silent for a moment. Shayna continued, "He was twitching so bad, because he was twitching and I knew he was going to die anyway, and he was making funny noises. I shot him a couple more times. I didn't want to watch him lay there and twitch." Highland Heights police arrived at the condo. They found Ryan exactly as Shayna described. 6 gunshot wounds, dead on the floor. The living room was orderly arranged, no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no defensive wounds on Shayna's body. They brought her to the police station for questioning. Officer Dave Fornash led the interrogation. Shayna initially said she wanted an attorney, then she started talking, and she didn't stop. She described the shooting in graphic detail. Gestured with her hands, even pointed to her own nose when explaining how she gave him his nose job. But it was what happened when the officers left the room that would become the most damaging evidence against her. Alone in the interrogation room, Shayna stood up, she pirouetted, danced, snapped her fingers. "I did it, yes, I did it, I can't believe I did that." She was singing and also smiling. Later, prosecutor Michelle Snodgrass would tell the court, "I recognize that people behave abnormally when in shock, but I'd never heard that somebody pirouettes when they're in shock, that someone sings when they're in shock, that someone snaps their fingers and says, 'I did it,' when they're in shock." As detectives examined the crime scene more closely, Shayna's self-defense claim began to fall apart. Forensic expert Howard Ryan testified that the first shot hit Ryan Poston in the head, a critical detail. There was no blood on the front of Ryan's shirt, which meant he'd been sitting down when the first shot was fired, not attacking, not advancing. After that first headshot, he would have been incapacitated, unable to pose any threat, but Shayna fired 5 more times. Detectives pulled Ryan's phone records and text messages. What they found was staggering. Over the 18 months of their relationship, Shayna had sent hundreds upon hundreds of messages, sometimes 50 to 100 in a single day. For every one message Ryan sent, Shayna sent approximately 100. Text after text, pleading, demanding, accusing. And then there were the conversations Ryan had with his friends and family, messages where he described feeling stalked, overwhelmed and trapped. "She's shown up at my condo like 3 times and refuses to leave each time." Highland Heights Police Chief Bill Birkenhauer reviewed the evidence. "This message goes back to, she's obsessed with Ryan Poston." But the prosecution had one more piece of evidence, something that would make it impossible to believe Shayna's story. And it came from the last person Ryan was supposed to see that night. Audrey Bolt, Miss Ohio 2012. The woman Ryan had planned to meet that night. She waited at the bar, 9 p.m. came and went, then 10 p.m., no Ryan. Eventually, she just went home, she never heard from him again. Audrey testified at trial. She explained that she and Ryan had been talking for months, building a connection. He was excited about their date. He told his friends he was finally ready to move on. The prosecution's theory became clear. Shayna knew about the date. She knew Ryan was slipping away and she wasn't going to let him leave. Shayna Hubers is a personality unlike any that I've seen in all the years that I've been prosecuting, Prosecutor Snodgrass said. She knew that Ryan Poston had somewhere else that he had to be and someone else that he was meeting, and she wasn't gonna let that happen. Shayna Hubers was charged with murder on December 20, 2012. Her trial began in April 2015, 2.5 years after she killed Ryan. She'd been held in Campbell County Jail the entire time, unable to meet her $3 million bail. The defense argued self-defense. They claimed Ryan had been abusive, that he'd physically attacked Shayna that night. But the prosecution presented overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Text messages showing Shayna's obsession, testimony from Ryan's friends and family describing him as kind, gentle, nonviolent person. The forensic evidence proving Ryan had been sitting down when he was shot. And then there was Shayna's own behavior, the dancing, the singing, the bizarre comments about giving Ryan his nose job. 3 women who'd shared a jail cell with Shayna testified that she'd confessed to them. She said the shooting wasn't about self-defense, it was about Ryan wanting to leave her. On April 23, 2015, after 5 hours of deliberation, the jury found Shayna Hubers guilty of murder. Judge Fred Stein sentenced her to 40 years in prison, calling Ryan's murder probably as cold-blooded an act as I've been associated with in the criminal justice system in the 30-plus years I've been in it.
Shayna Hubers surprised the courtroom by taking the witness stand in her murder retrial. She says her ex-boyfriend, Ryan Poston, who she shot and killed, abused her from the day they met. 9 on your sides. Ashley Zilka is live at the Campbell County Courthouse with more on her testimony.
Well, Kristen, Shayna Hubers did not testify in her first trial back in 2015, so this is really the first time she has spoke under oath. Now, she was still on the stand when court wrapped up for the day at 5 o'clock. At this point, Hubers has talked about several incidents during her 18-month relationship with Ryan Poston. Testimony ended for the day right after Hubers described the morning of October 12, 2012. That's the same day she shot Poston 6 times with his own gun in his apartment. Hubers testified she had chest pains on the day of the shooting, so she asked Poston for a ride to a clinic, but he dismissed her concerns and gave her a Xanax. The defense is focused on Hubers' claims that Ryan Poston abused her during the relationships. Hubers talked about one incident where she heard Poston was spreading rumors about her, so she went to his house.
I walked in and confronted him about it, and we got in a big fight. He picked me up and carried me from the bedroom out of the condo and threw me on the doorstep. He began beating my body with the door over and over and over. The door to the front of the house, the door to the front of the condo. He wouldn't let me grab my things, but he instead picked them up and threw them at me out the door.
Hubers was found guilty in the first trial and sentenced to 40 years in prison, but she was granted this new trial because it was discovered that one of the jurors was a convicted felon.
But that wasn't the end. In 2016, Shayna won an appeal. One of the jurors in her trial had failed to disclose a felony conviction, which under Kentucky law should have prevented them from serving on the jury. The conviction was overturned. Shayna got a new trial. Ryan's father, Jay Poston, told reporters, "If we have to do this 100 times, we will do it 100 times, it will all be okay." The family had to relive the nightmare all over again. In August 2018, Shayna's second trial began. This time, she took the stand. She gave graphic details about her relationship with Ryan, claimed he was abusive, claimed she feared for her life. But once again, the prosecution methodically dismantled her story. After 5 hours of deliberation, the same amount of time as the first trial, the jury found Shayna Hubers guilty of murder, again. This time, the jury recommended life imprisonment. On October 18, 2018, Shayna was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 20 years. At the sentencing hearing, Ryan's father spoke through tears. "It's daunting to know that I've got another 30 or 40 years on this earth. God willing, I'll have another 35 or 40 Christmases without my son, and my grandchildren were stolen from me. I will never hold my grandchildren. She has decimated my life and many other lives." Ryan's mother, Lisa Carter, said, "I can tell you one thing, I was the luckiest woman on earth for 30 years. Shayna showed no remorse during the hearing, prosecutor Snodgrass noted. She sent the judge a letter of apology, but she has never said that to Ryan's family. She has expressed no remorse. Shayna Hubers is currently serving her sentence at the Kentucky Correctional Institute for Women in Pewee Valley, Kentucky. Her first chance at parole will come in 2032. She married a fellow inmate in a brief jailhouse ceremony in 2018. The marriage was later annulled. Ryan's family and friends say they missed the warning signs. Or maybe they saw them but didn't know how serious they were. Looking back, the red flags were everywhere: constant, excessive communication, hundreds of texts a day, showing up unannounced repeatedly, jealousy and accusations over innocent interactions, isolating the partner from friends and family, refusing to accept the end of a relationship, monitoring and controlling behavior, hacking accounts, demanding passwords. Can we be honest with ourselves for a minute? Do you think this was fair to Ryan family? Was this really love or an obsession? Will her life imprisonment bring Ryan back to his family? Share your thoughts on the comment below. To our young people out there, if you see these patterns in your own relationship or in the relationship of someone you care about, please take them seriously. Don't neglect signs. Ryan Poston should be alive today. He should have made it to that date with Audrey Bolt. He should have built the life he wanted, married, had children, made his father a grandfather. Instead, his life ended at 29 years old because someone couldn't let him go. The family released this statement after the second conviction. Those who love Ryan now move forward with the integrity, dignity, and kindness that Ryan exemplified throughout his life. Love should never feel like surveillance, and if someone says you can't leave, that's exactly when you need to. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. Stay safe.